Hey, welcome to more Hytale. It's me, Comics or Hero of the Heart, and still getting used to the bag. I got a lot of ore last session. Yeah, ore balance distribution is definitely something that they want to work on. I don't blame them anymore. Well, I don't think I blamed them in the first place. Let's see, I would like to make mushroom skewers. Let's use these ones. So, I guess if I can, like, try to get my head put together properly. You know, I have goals, I have hopes, I have dreams and everything. And, you know, right now, top of my priority list kind of is just, you know, I need to make some dough. How to make dough? Yikes. Spices. Anyway. Shit, I need essence of ice. How did I not end up in the zone 3 last session? So, yeah, general goals, I guess, is just want to get seen, and seen by people I can trust. I'd like to, you know, believe that that'd be possible with, you know, Hypixel Studios, and potentially just... which one did I set? Okay. Yeah. Wanna, you know, try and get a job with them, really. Would be one of the best things that could happen to me at this point. And I don't know how I'm gonna accomplish that, what I'm gonna have to do to get there. All I know is that it's just what I want to do. And, you know, I'd have to take some time to learn the systems, obviously, because their systems are very complex compared to what I'm used to. But I could learn them. Probably learn them pretty quick with a little bit of help. And, you know, however the hiring goes, like, whatever I would get hired for, it wouldn't be too dissimilar from... I don't think it'd be, like, especially if I got hired over the, you know, World Gen V2, which, at this point, I have no clue if that's even in the cards for me or not. But, if it is, you know... It would not be too dissimilar to how I got onto the IFRA development team back 3 years ago, almost. No, it was almost 4 years ago, because that was spring of 22. Well, I got not really hired, you know, got onto the development team basically because I was asked if I knew how to, you know, put images into a written book. And it took me like all of like a day or two. Figured it out. Showed him the screenshot okay, you're in. I immediately proceed to correct world generation bugs that they were having, specifically with like having an issue where structures were spawning in the void when they were not supposed to. I didn't completely fix that because some of the stuff they had with that was they were doing a goofy little thing where a lot of the structures were, you know, doing a I forget what the term is now. It's been a long time. The whole thing where they would basically like try to mesh their horizontal values for the block placement along with the terrain noise, which was making them look like melted cheese, not gonna lie. Especially on very hilly terrain. But like, nah, we're gonna do it like that anyways. I guess. Oh. But yeah, when I fixed like shit. It was a funny night that one night. I was like I think I had a sandwich or something. Like I was like eating a sandwich and then, hey, can you have a look at the do you do stuff with World stuff? Yeah. I've done that because Cloudtop's data pack, which actually, you know, I learned a lot of how to work that out by, funny enough, reverse engineering the Bracken pack. Things kind of go full circle, you know. Yeah, my data packing started with reverse engineering Bracken pack, and then helping them, you know, figure out structure side of world generation for Skylands and stuff, and then like, yeah, hold my sandwich, hold my yeah, it's like, hey, I'm kind of in the middle of eating, but you know what? I'll go ahead and see what I can do. And like, well, I'll go ahead and finish eating. 10 minutes later, okay, they stopped spawning in the void. And, you know, it was, oh, yeah, I changed the button finally. So, yeah, that was, one of my first impressive feats on that team for them. But that wasn't the only thing I did, because I spent most of my time on the Ifra team basically making the entire magic system, because we had the whole magic and the RPG side of the progression system, because of like Josh wanted it to be more like, you know, divine powers or whatever, rather than a typical mana system. And I'm like, okay, I could do something with this. I end up making basically a, you have this divine energy cooldown mechanic, where, you know, when you use one of these artifacts with a special ability, like say, one of the first ones I did was the Storm Hammer, which was admittedly a bit overpowered, a bit overtuned. Had to get some reworks and stuff. Ended up being I think we might actually refer to them as zones over there too, maybe. Basically, zone 3, you know, ice area sort of thing. Not Hytale zone 3, but Ifra zone 3. It was a, yeah, something you could get from the frozen ice chunks in the ice dungeon that required the, a special ice pick you could only get by killing the ice boss. And it was a mostly non-renewable thing, unfortunately. And, basically, yeah. that was yeah, made that big old Stormhammer, had a big old magic AoE attack. I think that was a... I forget the trigger mechanism, but I had other things like different artifacts have different ways of interacting with your divine energy thing. Some of them were literally just like, you know, the ice rod was shoot a projectile. Actually, well, the ice rod actually based that off of the blaster weapons from Splatoon, specifically. Although it had, you know, freezing properties, and, you know, I think I may have had it do extra damage against, you know, hot enemies or something. It was, I didn't figure out projectiles at the time, and there was a lot of optimization concerns because, you know, Minecraft is totally optimized, clearly. But actually, like, you know, Ice Rod, it was, yeah, you point at something and then it'll go you know, basically ray scan a certain distance. If it hits a wall or a mob, it'll have a smaller AoE, I think it was. Or I may have actually preferred if you hit a mob. But if you hit nothing and it ran out of distance, it would do a bigger blast. That also, I think, did more damage. Well, it also had a bit of a splash damage fall off. It would also make a glass shattering sound if you direct hit an enemy, and I think do the full maximum damage it could specifically to that enemy. But yeah. There was also the Bow of Light, which would just, whenever you're off cooldown, it would, you know, shoot a light arrow. Unfortunately, on the current public release, the bug I had fixed got rolled back in the porting to 1.19. Because I guess other people on the dev team sometimes would just commit their entire file to the GitHub without even checking to see if other updates had happened. Whereas I would only do like one file at a time. That kind of thing is honestly very disruptive, and we don't even, to this day, we do not know who it was, or at least I don't know who it was that actually did the whole moving it to 1.19. It probably doesn't matter. What matters is that it happened, and it was kind of a disaster. Because a lot of stuff broke. The world generation especially got really messed up by that. To the point where it's like, you basically could not traverse the islands without having, you know, 5 stacks of cobblestone and then some. Because it was all sky islands, and then, oopsie, something happened with the, you know, noise generation stuff that made land masses far scarcer. Which also meant less, you know, places where you could actually obtain loot, because big sea of the sky sort of thing. Anyway, but yeah, so the magic system, yeah, it was a shared cooldown on the special abilities for a bunch of different artifact weapons, and you know, they ranged from the big Stormhammer with a AoE shock attack, to the Ice Rod with its, you know, Ice Blast thing at a distance, to Bow of Light, to, oh yeah, there was the Dragon Arm Cannon thing that would just breathe a, you know, belch out a jet of fire. There were a number of things that used it, and it was pretty neat. They even made, a custom display bar for it, I think. Because it was being done with Optifine, that's how they also got the custom mobs. Or the custom mob entity models. What am I doing here? But, yeah. Spent so much time, like, play testing it, made the even made the level up system. That was a direct request because no one else had really done it, and it kind of needed something so you could have a proper progression. And part of the progression was like every boss you get a massive increase to your health bar. And I ended up, the way I handled it was using the advancement system, since they would, you know, trigger and you could keep track of them very cleanly and easily built into the game. And then, yeah, I ended up having multiple stats. So the health thing, divine health, was specifically, yeah, from killing bosses. Kind of Zelda-like, but you got like 5 hearts at a time for every boss kill. And also, I think just a health increase from entering the divine dimension, but well, you know, the Aether dimension itself. But also, you had 4 elemental disciplines, actually 5, but 4 elemental level up progressions for. You had sprinting speed, I believe, was wind. Maybe. No, wind was attack speed. Fire was. I think fire might have been attack power. I know for certain that Earth was. Earth was actually your divine cooldown. Divine energy cooldown, and maybe also some damage there. It's been a while. Essentially, you had 4 different elemental. Yeah, 4 different elemental level up things for like getting stronger, and they were each tied to like also different capstone artifacts you could get. I think fire had a big great sword or something. See, wind had the gauntlet. I think earth got you a magic orb, and oh right, I think water might have been for archery specifically, when it got you the light bow. Right, but yeah, so you had right, because water was patience. Water was patience, and earth was connection, and or your divine connection, and fire was centered around like passion, and that basically translated into melee attack power. And then yeah, wind was basically what controlled your attack speed. Okay, let's actually try and make. Let's make a garden. So let's use this for the garden. Why not? Oh, and let's. Where's my bucket? So, yeah. Yeah, I had like 5 different levels or tiers, and yeah, they leveled up independently of each other based on different things you did. Divine powers, yeah, the divine energy thing level, or your earth would go up when you used divine powers from artifacts. Fire would go up from hitting things. I forget what made wind go up. Excuse me? Water system might need refinement. Anyway, let's see. Oh yeah, this will work out. For now. And yeah, the water went up from bow damage. Yeah, shit, is it doing that? Hello? I don't get the water physics anymore. Anyway. Yeah, they go up, but trying to balance them going up without encourage, like, how they go. The whole progression system was, like, difficult to balance because it was very easy to just kind of grind them. There was no easy way to be like, okay, this enemy is this tough, therefore, you know, blah blah blah. No, it was like, yeah, we basically, well, I basically had to go and like figure out how I wanted to go about that aspect of progression, and ultimately I ended up yeah, I went and made a system of basically, oh hey, there's now these first of all, you'd start with a book that would basically, you could take one of 5 elemental philosophies, and essentially these elemental philosophies would be like, you had, you know, fire, water, earth, wind, and then void or ether. To, you know, also just get a little bit more thematic with, you know, Ephra, divine dimension stuff, and okay. Hang on a second. Okay, so yeah, you had these different disciplines, and they would basically influence your natural growth rates with each of the different yeah, elemental level up things. So like if you were to go water for patience, I think that actually would, like, it would increase your water, yes, but also I think, yeah, that one decreased your fire gains, and then basically it would, like, yeah, your opposite, you learn a little slower, and then what you pick, you learn a little faster. Alternatively, you could go ether and learn everything equally. But then, because of how the balancing went, it was like, okay, well, so just doing the stuff, if I make it so that you can get your first level real quick and easy, you know, you're gonna be having your stuff, you know, before you even, like, you're gonna max out and get your legendary artifacts before you fight your first boss. But if I make it take too long, you're gonna be too weak and underpowered to even really handle the threats that Ephra provided, because, oh yeah, guess what, everything has to be, like, you know, beyond, basically it's like, you need a beacon and, you know, resource, or, I think the requirement to open the portal was a diamond block and a nether star, so have to have already committed to the grind of killing the Wither, and having fancy, like, enchanted diamond armor or even netherite armor was the intended level of progression before you can even go into the Ephra dimension. And you wouldn't get your level up stuff until, like, after you enter, but you could still accrue XP just by playing the game up until that point, which might get you a few levels and stuff, maybe. To make that system, you know, not just like oh hey, you entered and everything just maxed out because you were playing the game normally. Yeah, I had to increase the rates, but then it was going too slow, and you know, so you couldn't just easily grind everything in half a day and call it. So I had to go and like, okay, well, we need another way to actually gain the XP at a accelerated rate. So you can't just grind it out, but you can still get it at, you know, get it all within like actually going and fighting all the bosses. You can max things out. Some of the, you know, other devs were kind of against that, but it's at the same time, like, the way it was set up, there was only like 5 levels in each thing before you maxed out. I'd be fine with like, oh yeah, if you like have some things at level 3 or 4, as long as you have like something at 5, would be, you know, tolerable for you know, end game content. With the ideal of, okay, you like, I wanted it to be like you could realistically attain max level and everything before you face the end game. And some of the other devs are kind of against that because, you know, the creative liberty. Unfortunately, you know, when you've only got 5 ranks, 5 levels, and then everything's kind of really important so that you can actually deal with shit. Yeah, sorry, but if there was a bigger level range, you know, it'd be a different story, because then it'd be like, okay, you could actually have these be, you know, varying stats that can set people apart, beyond just the scope of, you know, what do you want to do for your character. I don't know. It's yeah, it was a little complicated, but end of the day, added in these little elemental crystals that would drop from mobs, and there were, you know, 4 different flavors for each of the different elemental things. Again, health increases were strictly from fighting bosses on your, you know. But you had several different biomes in the Divine Dimension that actually kind of had their own themes and stuff for the most part. And there were like, I think, 7 biomes more or less. Ended up, yeah, depending on which biome you were in, different elemental shards had, you know, higher or lower drop rates. And some biomes, like the Desert Oasis, or no, Sapphire Oasis biome, I think it was called, would be dual type. So like Sapphire Oasis would be fire and water, because it's really freaking hot, but there's oases everywhere. I mean, it's in the name. It's a hot place with a lot of water. And, you know, has some other things here and there that would also do... I think most of the biomes are dual type, but some of them weren't. Let's go with that, and then we can go there. This might be a temporary measure, but whatever. Are only the adjacents getting watered? Oh shit. Temporary irrigation duct. Here we go. I'll find a bigger way to actually, like, do this at some point. Gonna need more basalt cobblestone, pretty sure. Didn't really have to dig down that far on the border, but chose to anyway. Please. So, yeah. Did a lot of stuff on Aphra, but I've also had, other data packs that were also just my own thing. And then, 2023, I take a break from doing data packs because, basically, Doom modding, specifically Sonic Roboboss 2 Persona modding, catches my interest. And that puts me on hiatus from data packing for basically a whole year. I was like, all of 2024 was basically into the Sonic Persona modding, which I kind of faced some of the same hurdles I'm facing now back then. It just, the stakes were a lot lower, so it did not take me long to start catching up. But, yeah, that one's been interesting. There's unfortunately a few roadblocks there right now that are I'm not really primed to overcome. Namely, like, so we use this thing called Zone Builder for just Sonic Roboboss 2 in general. It's built on the original Doom engine, which means no native, third axis for movement. But, you kind of need that third axis for a 3D platformer. Well, so Sonic Roboboss 2 is like, well, we're a 3D platformer now. Here's our, Z-axis finally, and the way they do that is, yeah, you've got the zone builder, so you can have basically a level editor thing for the game, and it's, actually, I didn't really get into using that until kind of recently. Go ahead and see, harvested. Fuck it, yeah, 12. So, yeah, it was like past like half year or so I actually started really figuring out how to use Zone Builder, and that's how I have the whole like custom arenas on my stuff now, and the end of time dimension, this and that, But it's like one of the things we're trying to go for right now, because Sonic Roboboss 2 Persona, it's built off of Sonic Roboboss 2, but there's a lot of things that are just done differently, like actual dungeon content is mostly done in specially made levels that support Tartarus generation. And in fact, the only difference between these levels usually is going to be what your battle arenas are. Having multiple arenas in the same dungeon without it being Bionis Fields is a more recent development I did. Just so like Palace of Souls would have 3 different arenas, and then had 2 different arenas on Frozen Spaceport. But they all have the same, like, I think gigantic maze grid thing, which, in its own right is kind of neat, but at the same time, there's some pretty severe stability issues that come from doing the Tartarus method. So yeah, one of our more sought after things, especially just so we can have like not just more interesting dungeon content with like actually incorporating platforming aside from pits and spikes everywhere and mazes, is just also the stability aspect of just a handcrafted dungeon instead of having hundreds or thousands of sectors. That's sectors is like basically surface faces or whatever for the actual level design and stuff. And it's like you have a bunch of these, massive grid of a bunch of square sectors and stuff with the Tartarus generation that all have to change and adapt based on, the generation formula. And zone builder dungeons that are like completely a proper zone builder level without the Tartarus generation don't go for that. It would just be like it would just be a SRP2 level, but with Persona content. There is no actual infrastructure for that right now, as I speak, outside of specifically Bionis fields, and from what I gathered, it's specifically set up to only really work for Bionis fields, and even if it wasn't, relying on that infrastructure would mean, being wholly dependent on the Bionis fields mod for the dungeon to work at all, which is something I should avoid, especially when people do sometimes run the game without Bionis fields. Shocker, I know. I really gotta collect some berries here. But so that's one of the major hurdles there, is like, because we need to get working shop, working save points, easy way to have enemies spawn in, but also we have a bunch of base game issues that are kind of going to be a nightmare to sort out, unless we just get lucky and find the thing that's running them and find that it's easy to change, which not always the case when a lot of functions on the base game are local functions. Yippee! Oh, load bearing. We love load bearing mushrooms. But yeah, it's that's just like, yeah, one of the things right now is fighting old base game code that we maybe can change, maybe can't change, or would have extreme difficulty changing. Honestly, one of the main hurdles also is just, those just spawned in, is being able to actually run events multi-party without battles soft-locking those events, dialogue events. Which is just kind of unfortunate reality right now. It just does that, and we've not really investigated why it does that. Good, rough bit here. So, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that's, holding the zone dungeon stuff back, aside from also just like, yeah, getting enemies to spawn and figuring out how we want to handle that for, zone builder dungeons. But, yeah, zone builder dungeons are one of our goals still, because it's like, yeah, it'd be so much easier to run those on a large player count net game, especially when you have like 50, 60 other mods going on, so that, you know. And also because the Tartarus dungeons have a really freaky bug with specifically the software renderer where, oh, sorry, integer overflow on the renderer. Good day. So, and not everyone can change to the OpenGL renderer. Usually has a graphics card issue. Like the guy who, you know, taught me how to figure out or how to optimize OBS so that it wouldn't be like, you know, 10 gigabytes every half hour. You know, his graphics card is just shitting the bed with basically everything except for like some games. It just kind of, you know, pick a game and, you know, flip a coin. Heads he can run it, tails he can't. Ah shit. Out of arrows. Oh, sorry, Mosshorn. Mosshorns are peaceful. And, yeah. So, I've got quite a background on just game design stuff in general. Like, you know, Sonic Robot Super Persona, it's a JRPG. It's based off the Persona games. And, you know, I'm very familiar with, like, I kind of became renowned as, like, the guy that does really cool attack animations. I mean, other people have done so, too. But I'm, like, one of the only still active and kind of public guys, you know, doing that. Some of the other modders are catching up to me, of course. And some of them, you know, also had decent animations before I got in that might still be there. But yeah, that's one of the things I'm known for, so I was also just like, how did that bear see me? So, yeah, it's stuff I figured out and basically mastered. And, you know, I don't doubt I could probably master the Hytale engine, you know, stuff too. I may just need guidance. I've been extremely stressed because a lot of stuff's been going on, and, you know, the holidays also just kind of wreck my ability to function as a modder, as a creator, as basically a, you know, regular human being. They kind of just always do that. It's the holidays, of course they do that. But, yeah. Oh, oh, there they go. Sorry, Booney. Thanks for the free scrap. I'm off. Later. Oh, wolves moved in. That's neat. Maybe I'll go ahead and burn some of the fibers now. So I might actually be able to make a teleporter at long last. But, yeah, let's go ahead and just... Oh! should go back to the Forgotten Temple. And go back into here. Let me see. Where do I want a teleporter room to be? Not this room. Maybe up here. Maybe not. Maybe up here. Yeah. For now, sure. Or wait, I could have him. I reckon I should be able to move them later if I need to. Should keep them down here though. Alright, well. I might as well run over to somewhere up north. Since I've got zones 3 and 4 up north, apparently. How much durability? 8. I'll be fine. I'm just gonna set down a teleporter anyways. I do also just need frost cores. Lost my train of thought again because I just keep shifting ideas, but okay, so Persona Blast stuff, yeah. Zone Builder, kind of the new frontier, even though it's like mainstream for base Roboblast 2 and Kart and Drain Racers. It's specifically just Persona Blast, as we call it, that is not familiar with Zone Builder hardly at all, outside of a couple of people that like to make custom arenas, because I mean, most of the content, like the vast majority of people who like just dabble into it just stop at making a character with base game skills and calling it a day. Sad truth, but you know, not a lot of people really, from the base SB2 community especially, not a lot of people over there really bothered with the Persona Blast for more than like maybe a couple of months. Some did, some didn't. And some just kind of, you know, oh well, I don't really mess with that anymore, but okay, someone from over there wants to have one of my characters. Sure, go ahead. You can give me Persona support kind of thing. And then the actual people who mod over there, there's not a lot of us, and those of us who have stayed for a long run kind of just do a bit of everything. I mean, the main hitters right now are like, you know, me and then Smart. But can you piss off? You chased me for a good like 50 blocks just so you could slap me. Anyways. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us just kind of, you know, if we're long time, usually kind of just, you know, delve into a bit of everything depending on who we are. Most common stuff in general though is going to be characters. Even for us, you know, long time, you know, modders at this point, or long-term modders, like, you know, a lot of my stuff is just characters or attack skills. I have a lot of attack skills, and you know, as a means of, you know, this is just kind of, you know, stuff that I've put into the game. It's not even like character-specific attack skills necessarily. I've got a whole, you know, slew of skill lines that are like, it's a lot of stuff, and that's like, you know, be it my Stockgorm things from my base mod collection, or Final Fantasy spells that I still haven't finished because there's a lot more I need to make of them, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Or even the Trails stuff that isn't exactly my mod, but you know, I was given permission to work on because the original creator, you know, basically slowed down and stopped modding entirely. Oh, that's so wacky. Okay, so that's high up. Wow, zone 3 and 4 right next to each other. That's kind of crazy. But, yeah. Got a lot of character stuff. The next step after characters is usually having, like, enemies and boss fights. Especially boss fights, because it's really easy to just set up a vision quest. That's like the lowest point of lowest barrier entry for doing actual playable content. Because you just go in and it starts a fight. Usually in the you know, arena, like the base arena, but you can have some that have custom arenas. Like most of mine at this point use custom arenas, if not all of them. And then the Trails ones do. Some of the other ones do. But, you know, when you actually get into custom dungeons, which are actually kind of rare publicly, you know, that's where you actually have, like, maybe custom enemies if they aren't just, like, reusing base game assets to have a bunch of basic Tartarus shadows, recolored or otherwise. And then... no. Yeah, sometimes you'll get dungeons that actually, like... I mean, step one for a custom dungeon is having a bunch of flats and wall textures to decorate the dungeon with. So you actually have, like, you know, a unique explorable area that isn't just, you know, purely a Tartarus 3.0 or 2.0. Wow. And then... yeah, you can have custom shops and things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but main point there is, like, you know, hardly anyone uses, you know, base game stuff, because, like, you know, overworld abilities are all tied to the custom ability system. A lot of people don't even know how to make custom states or anything, because why bother when you can just, you know, use the character anim system. And, you know, again, most people don't understand how to do anything with Zone Builder, because why bother with Zone Builder when you can just have, you know, digital zone, you know, use my custom wall textures and flats and stuff. There's a lot of, you know, systems put into place that get around the clunkier systems of base SCP-2. But by using the easier systems, we end up, you know, not getting familiarized with what all of the rest of the SCP-2 modding scene does. And it actually makes it harder to get into base SCP-2 modding as a result. So we're going to have a massive learning curve for all of that. Just to catch up. And it's much more comfortable to be where we already are with the things that we know. Oh boy, the Everfrost. Right, I am partially here just to get some redwood if I can. Yeah, what the hell. Alright, that's there. Put you in the bag. Probably gonna have to call the episode soon so I can upload and free up space again. Loving these ore pillars. Need to find sand at some point though. And also, yeah, just the redwood so I can upgrade my farming bench. I've got plenty of cobalt. What the hell? Anyway, yeah, I've been rambling for like hours at this point. Oh, sun already gone down. This video might be a bit long too. Give that to me. Thank you. Okay, that looks like redwood over there, and that looks like a, I hope I can handle fighting you. Okay. No ice thingy. I mean, I can, of course I can handle fighting. I do want to restock my arrows though. Oops. Knocked something over. Anyway, if I'm not messing with that, thank you. Anyhow, yeah. Minecraft data pack stuff, yeah, I was getting pretty advanced with it. My latest thing was the Tale of Sunsword Adventure Map remake. I never finished the first one, and rebuilt it all from the ground up. I didn't even fully catch up with it, but what I did have was actually better. It's a bit of a complex thing, because it's like, you know, I started the original map in, oh, please. Thank you. Okay, that's actually me. Anyways. Yeah, original map I started, summer of 2021. And it was cool. It's still a nice kind of experience, except for the fact that you can't play it on modern versions. Because it was just like, well, it became too much to maintain, and then I also accrued way too much technical debt. Because my old practices and methods back then just weren't that great, honestly. Not terrible, but like, I learned so much better stuff that I kind of just had to move on. I think this is redwood? Cedar. Whatever. Damn, how am I supposed to find redwood? There's some ruins here. Oh, maybe I can get some ice essence. Or frost essence. Oh, I got a little bit. but then I, remade the map, and it's cool, but don't even have the first dungeon made, and now it's looking like I'm not, Minecraft might not be worth trying to work with anymore, because of mainly just because of constant, EULA change drama that Microsoft just can't help but perpetuate with every other Minecraft update. And oh hey, we also have to do our age verification thing because having an excuse to steal your data is and let people just oops, we had another security breach and people stole your data. Oh my, oh gee, we're not accountable for that, no siree. All in the name of protecting children. Shut up. You don't do jack shit to even make sure it's foolproof. But you mandate it anyways. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just... Between Hytale release and then... that shit? I have no reason to go back to Minecraft now. I would if they were, like, actually trying to improve and stuff, but clearly they're not. Not really. Not with the things that matter to the everyday average person. All the content updates have just been like, oh, here's some more cute animals and style changes to further alienate our original audience. Maybe, or maybe not. We could just keep changing shit because we feel like it. But then also, not really adding anything that would, make playing the game fresh. Like, that was the whole deal with the, Never update, was the game experience was revitalized because suddenly going to the Nether wasn't just, oh hey, I'm doing this to get from point A to point B. Now it's like, you got these cool bastions, Netherite scrap, new biomes, new enemies, new neutral mobs that are actually kind of interesting and complex. And now we just can't get updates like that anymore. Like, and I'm not even getting big updates. Like, they fumbled with so many things. Okay, have the cool thing with, ancient cities and stuff, and the trial chambers, and now it's just like, okay, yeah, no, they're just stalling for time with these updates now, and, give us money or something. Also, we're going to infringe on your privacy, because, children, the children, because how dare children get exposed to, like, okay, I get it. It's one thing if it's, like, actual mature content that, people under the age of 18 should not be exposed to. That I get. But that's not what they're doing. And in fact, like, I don't know what they're doing, other than, oh, you just have to, arbitrary verification system thingy so they can steal our information. Oh. About time. And this and that and... in the walls. Anyway, oh, that's a yikes. How hard can it be to just get me some freaking redwood? Unless this is redwood. Okay, spawn in right on top of me, why don't you? Anyway, yeah, long story short, I'm probably never going back to Minecraft at this point because it's just not worth it, to say the least. And, yeah, I don't know. So, I want to start my life basically over with Hytale without having to completely start over, and that's proving to be extremely difficult. I trust that the Hytale devs, want it to be easier to dive right in, and for a lot of people it seems to be easier. I'm just not like everyone else on that front. Either they've got like some sort of support group, or just naturally clicks, or they already had like, again, there's just too many things that I just don't know. And too few of my actual data packing skills are translating over to Hytale development. So at this point, I probably just need, a guide, or I'm going to be struggling for a good month here. All while, opportunities to actually join the dev team just kind of slip away into potentially non-existence. I don't know. It's a little scary, but, well, that's just how it is right now. I do want to have faith, but for the time being, it's just kind of hard to. Okay, I have no clue who lives here. Quebecs? Oh, neat. And they seem to have redwood. That looks like it might be redwood. Excuse me? I did not go in there. Oh. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some redwood and just kind of call it for the session. I should be able to replant this, basically as soon as I get the, farming bench upgrade, but... Maybe I should have gone for a smaller one. Anyhow. Yeah, let's go. I'll have to move the teleporters, no doubt. But I can worry about that later. Oh, hey, it put me somewhere safe this time. Imagine that. Alright, let's just do that. Yay, okay. We are calling it here. Thanks for watching, I'll see you later. Bye.